In the original War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, the alien invasion of Earth was not an entirely one-sided affair. Instead, it was a story about an actual war between Earth and Mars. For all the aliens' technological advancement, they fought on a relatively similar playing field with the humans. Defensive lines were formed to protect London. Alien tripods were able to be taken out with artillery fire. Even the British Navy engaged with the aliens on the high seas. And the alien superweapon? Well, it was just a chemical weapon. Black smoke. These were not simply just aliens. These were enemies that fought in a familiar sense to Britain's enemies at the time. Trenches in the ground, naval battles at sea, chemical weapons, if need be. It was at the time foreign, yet familiar. And in just the same way that War of the Worlds was a product of 19th century Victorian culture, Battle Los Angeles is a product of the culture of the United States in the 2010s. This is so stupid. In his original review of the movie, a young Chris Stuckman described Battle Los Angeles as a movie that only a 13-year-old would like because it felt like one of his favorite FPS shooters. And you know what, Chris? I was one of those kids. And I have a YouTube channel now, so I can say things. This movie, for some reason, stuck with my dumb high schooler brain. I even have the same original movie ticket 10 years later. Mostly because I forgot to clean out my wallet, but that's not the point here. As a young Cody, I had some reasons for just liking Battle LA. I don't know, it just clicked. I thought it wasn't like the other alien invasion movies. It wasn't like that stupid Independence Day being all unrealistic. Yeah. It was gritty. It was grounded. And by grounded, young Cody didn't mean, you know, soldiers in combat fighting in a realistic manner. No, young Cody meant it had a shaky cam. That was it. Wow, it feels so real. While I had fond memories of this movie as a kid, I haven't watched it in years. You know, life is busy. Interests shift and evolve over time. And while I don't really rewatch many movies anyway, throughout that time I never really thought, you know, I'm going to rewatch Battle LA. But now I have a great excuse to, so let's do it. Battle Los Angeles begins smack dab in the middle of a battle. Los Angeles. Explosions all around.
We regret being alien bastards.
Anti-aircraft fire from all sides. Asteroid ships raining from the sky. Things look like they're getting pretty bleak, when suddenly, cut to earlier. Oh. Oh no. Remember that trend whenever a movie needed to establish that it was indeed in California? It would have a single establishing shot playing with California Love.
Is crucial.
For a song made in the mid-90s, it sure did have a resurgence in the early 2010s. My god. We follow Sergeant Nance, played by Aaron Eckhart, who you may remember as the Joker in The Dark Knight. But I remember him as his best role, President, in the critically acclaimed film Olympus Has Fallen. Nance is getting out. His time in the Marines is coming to an end. 2 weeks from retirement, you may say. He made some bad calls back in Iraq and it led to a few of his men getting killed, a reputation that has stuck with him. We follow and see the lives of a few Marines outside and around the base. Their personal lives and what they're dealing with, be it planning a wedding, hanging out with the guys, mourning the loss of a brother, or dealing with PTSD. There's even a new rookie who's teased for being a virgin. Wait a minute, I remember that face.
Victim of the year there, buddy.
Okay, so now my in-mind canon is that the bully from Max Keeble just turned his life around and joined the military. Sure, he keeps laughing along with the virgin jokes. He can never tell his friends the real story.
If you've been touched that way, don't be ashamed. Tell someone you trust.
Meanwhile, while all of this is happening, in the background there's news snippets and flashes on the TV that show something isn't right. Meteors getting bigger in the span of hours, crashing off the coast of other world cities. Everything is just normal for the troops until the Humvees arrive to interrupt training. It's a general evacuation of the city. Nobody knows what these things are, but some are starting to suspect, and those suspicions are confirmed. There they are. Everyone's still on the beach. Beach is closed, people, come on. For some reason, despite this being recorded on news cameras, the footage looks like it was shot in the 90s. You see this a lot when movies want something to be mysterious and spooky. The more spooky it is, the more film grain there'll be. It's just a rule. I can't change it. Anyway, aliens have arrived. That morning sure did take a turn. But everyone takes it in stride. They have a job to do. Outside of joking about E.T., not much can really else be done.
You mean like from space?
No, Emily, from Canada.
Oh, you always got jokes, don't you?
First squad, line it up, bring it in, let's go!
On just the ride over to the FOB, they're already taking air fire, so things are going great. Which brings us back to the opening. That was 20 minutes ago. I guess they really just wanted to put that action part at the beginning. Can't start off the movie following around Marines in their personal lives, huh? Did they think the general audience would just get bored while waiting 5 minutes? Look, I get setting the tone for the movie in the very beginning, but there had to have been a better way of doing this without repeating the same scene in the span of 20 minutes. The plans are made. The Marines' mission is to help evacuate the population near the beach before the military brings in their air superiority to wipe Santa Monica off the map. As far as the military knows, these aliens don't have airships, so it should be a cakewalk. Aren't they in for a surprise? Once deployed into the city, things are pretty desolate and abandoned. It's quiet, until it's not. Alright, so I'm not gonna go through every little plot point. I think you get the idea by now. Aliens invade. Humans try to stop them. You've seen this before. The plot going forward is essentially just a series of missions and firefights as the Marines try to make their way out of Santa Monica before the bombs explode. That's the story, at least in the first half. What I'm more interested in is, well, the uniqueness of the fighting. Not simply the action itself, but the creative decisions that had to be made to make this fight, fair. As the land sharks, that's what they're called, are not really like any other alien force we've seen in film, because these aliens are weak as hell. When questioned about the movie, Battle Los Angeles director Jonathan Liebesman said, "I think that what we were trying to do was make a war movie that had aliens, rather than do an alien movie that just had soldiers as an afterthought." And yeah, that's pretty much what it is. This is not an alien movie. This is a war movie using aliens. There's a difficulty bringing aliens into any conflict with humanity, as it all comes down to technological level. A balance has to be struck between having the aliens be an overwhelming, destructive force, while not being too unfair in a firefight. Sure, you could have the aliens just invade using primarily vehicles and simply bombard from the air, but that doesn't leave anyone with a fighting chance. And the Marines just become any other soldiers in an alien movie. So the solution is to make the alien invaders be nerfed. Hard. Despite having technology to travel through space and invade another planet, these are some of the least technologically advanced aliens I've ever seen.
Fuck out of here, boy. Get that weak shit out of here.
They make a memorable entrance for sure, but once they get into the city, their general tactics are much more human. The aliens use squad infantry, they fire projectile weapons, basically bullets, and their weaponry is only a grade above our own. Sure, it's attached to their body and it can look weird, but this is firepower that can be deflected by Kevlar or military armor. Sometimes it can't even pierce the armor of a Humvee. In fact, the most advanced weapon the land sharks bring to the battlefield is what I can only describe as that Boston Dynamics robot with 4 RPGs strapped to the top. They don't even use the robot bot against a tank, they use it against infantry. If you've ever played an RTS, you just know that's a waste of rockets right there.
That's no good.
But when they don't have the advantage, the aliens hide on the rooftops or freeways, almost like they were planning on ambushing the Marines. Now you might be thinking this is a criticism, but it really isn't. Not every alien race has to be incredibly advanced or follow the same pop culture depiction of what advanced technology would look like. The point of Battle LA was to be a war movie first, therefore the way the aliens fight and are designed is first and foremost to be fair. While making Halo, Bungie had a philosophy when designing the Covenant. While the aliens were technologically advanced, they couldn't be too advanced. Their weaponry was energy-based, sure, but they would never carry lasers. The Covenant could only shoot slow-moving plasma. This reason was to give the player time to dodge and take cover. This led to a gameplay experience that was player-focused, and despite the Covenant's technological advantage over the player, the gameplay at the end of the day felt fair for the sake of entertainment. Logic and reason sacrificed in part for the sake of giving the protagonist a fighting chance. Boo! This is a good thing, because you remember what happened when the Covenant actually got that laser weapon? Yeah. So what was that whole tirade about? Since Battle LA is a war movie involving modern-day US Marines, just like the Covenant in Halo, the Landsharks were designed to be fair. Because, to be honest, this movie wouldn't work if there was an incredibly advanced alien empire coming to wipe humanity out. This movie wouldn't work if the aliens even had shields, because then our guns would be useless. These aliens had to be infantry-based. The occasional vehicles they may use are always designed with no cover, the same logic as a Ghost or a Warthog. Their entire design was crafted around being reasonable opponents that could be still taken down in an urban setting by Afghanistan-era Marines.
Frag out!
Which is why they don't simply invade from the air, but come from the sea. It's practically a human naval invasion. They don't bomb out entire sections of the city, but instead secure areas like insurgents would, towing the line between alien invaders and pseudo-militant fighters to give the Marines we follow a fighting chance. This is about the men on the ground. The tactics, training, and environment of being a Marine brought into the worst case scenario. It may not have the best writing.
When you invade a place for its resources, you wipe out the indigenous population.
Or the best plot, but there is one thing Battle LA brings to the table: the energy. Going through past reviews and comments, this movie seems to strike a particular chord with former veterans and active military.
Now deploy.
Oh, that's us! That's us!
And I think that comes from simply the effort given to remain as involved in the military perspective as possible. Like, this is still an alien invasion, an overwhelming situation, and the Marines apply their training and tactics to each problem they face. That energy is the best thing this movie has going for it. It's a war alien movie. And it isn't the best war movie, and it isn't the best alien invasion movie, but it hits with a very particular crowd.
And I was part of that crowd. Hi, I'm Knowing Better. I make videos about history, government, and psychology, and I'm also a veteran who deployed to Iraq in 2009. This movie came out shortly after my return home. I grew up loving alien invasion movies. Stargate, Alien, Predator, Independence Day, Starship Troopers, you name it, I watched it. But this was the first one I could think of where the main characters were guys like me. They weren't the president or some special unit in the future, they were dressed the same way I was. They used the same weapons I did, and they spoke basically the same language. Marine English is a little different from regular English. And they're fighting an evenly matched humanoid enemy. They don't have giant city-destroying lasers or disgusting face-huggers, they're just like us. They even use hand signs to communicate and can be seen dragging away their wounded the same way we would. But most important of all, they were unambiguously evil. After coming home from a morally confusing deployment, I got to see people dressed like me fighting against an unquestionable existential threat. They invaded us without warning in order to steal our resources. It doesn't get much more black and white than that. And when I think about it, that's basically what all alien war movies are designed to do. Make the military look good by providing an obvious bad guy to fight. Battle Los Angeles would come off very differently if it was set in the middle of Iraq or Afghanistan. Suddenly, running over the enemy with an LAV would be a lot less fun to watch. But in other movies, the aliens are supposed to represent an actual group of humans, making the morality and message a lot less clear.
Would you like to know more?
Upon this last rewatch for the video, I would not call this a particularly fantastic movie. Like I said, it's not the best of either, but I can still see how some would enjoy it. Either it's through relating with a feeling or understanding a situation because you've been there. There's another aspect of this I haven't really talked about. The other energy, one that really only existed in what I call the modern warfare era. In the span of these 5 years, if anything was militaristic, it had this font. If anything wanted to be cool, it had muted colors or an overlay of beige. When every movie thought using shaky cam was a great idea.
Oh shit, I'm gonna throw up.
When decent color grading literally did not exist. And there were just a ton of modern military things out, all coincidentally ending after Modern Warfare 3 and this movie. I know I sound crazy, but this was a real thing and everyone did it and nobody talks about it. If you wanted to make a movie seem gritty or militaristic, just slap, what's it called? Euro style next. No, that's dumb. Just slap the Modern Warfare font on your movie, and it wouldn't look generic at all. This is the Comic Sans of action movies. Battle LA is one of those movies that if it works for you, then it does. I think viewing it through sepia tone glasses doesn't really help, and it kind of makes me biased, but I can't go after this movie. It's one of those things that simply aren't as good as I remember. My tastes have changed since then. I kinda just like dumb, less grounded things now. Battle LA brings me back to that time when super serious FPS gamer fuel was all the rage. A simpler time that thought it was much cooler than it really was. And Battle LA certainly thought it was pretty cool.
Let's take back Los Angeles.